Imagine this. Your eyes snap open, and before your feet even brush the floor, a heavy wave crashes over you. Not exhaustion from sleep, something deeper, darker. Your mind ignites instantly with a storm of worries. Bills stacking like bricks. Deadlines looming like shadows. That sharp argument from yesterday still echoing in your chest. The day hasn't even begun, yet you already feel defeated, drained, ready to surrender. If mornings hit you like a battlefield instead of a fresh gift, know this: you are not alone, and more importantly, you are not broken. This is the story of a man who lived exactly like that, trapped in a cycle of dread so automatic it felt like breathing. Until one simple, powerful choice, 5 minutes every morning, shattered the chains and set him free. In the heart of a fast-moving city, where skyscrapers pierced the clouds and people darted like currents in a river, lived Daniel. At 35, he had the life most would envy on paper. A steady accounting job, a comfortable apartment, enough income to cover the bills and a little extra. No dramatic crises, no unbearable tragedies. Yet every single morning, Daniel woke up angry at the world. The alarm blared, and his first thought wasn't, "Thank God for another day." It was another Monday, more grind, more stress, more of the same endless loop. He'd lie there, scrolling through his phone for 10, 15 minutes, flooding his mind with rage-inducing headlines, envy-sparking posts of other people's highlight reels, exotic vacations, promotions, perfect families. By the time his feet hit the floor, his spirit was already bruised. Breakfast was mechanical. Food had no taste because his mind was already at the office, anticipating problems, replaying yesterday's frustrations, bracing for today's battles. His girlfriend, Sarah, watched this slow fade with growing concern. One morning over coffee, she looked at him softly and asked the question that pierced straight through. "Daniel, when was the last time you actually enjoyed waking up?" He stared into his cup, searching for an answer that wouldn't come. "I don't know," he admitted quietly. "Maybe when I was a kid, before everything got so complicated." Sarah reached for his hand. "You're alive, you're healthy, you have love in your life, but you treat every new day like a punishment instead of the incredible gift it is." Her words landed like truth bombs, painful, undeniable. Daniel wanted to argue, but he couldn't. The negativity had become his default setting. He'd conditioned himself to postpone joy. "I'll be happy when I get promoted, when we have more money, when life gets easier." But when never arrived, the heaviness only deepened. Sleep suffered. His relationship strained. Even genuine wins, a raise, a sunny weekend, couldn't penetrate the fog. He'd become the man who spotted flaws in every solution, complaints in every compliment. One evening, Sarah's voice broke with quiet resolve. "Daniel, I love you, but I can't keep waking up next to someone who hates waking up." That night, sleep refused to come. Daniel lay staring at the ceiling, the question burning in his chest. When did I become this person? And how do I fight my way back? He didn't know it yet, but the answer was closer than he imagined, waiting in the quiet of the next morning, ready to be claimed. Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this. The next morning, Daniel woke up at 5:30 a.m. Sleep had refused to come after Sarah's words. Instead of fighting the insomnia, he did something he almost never did. He got out of bed. He pulled on a hoodie, slipped on his sneakers, and stepped out into the city while it was still dark and quiet. The streets were empty. The air felt clean. The first pale blue light of dawn was just beginning to appear. He walked without direction until he reached a small, almost hidden park tucked between tall buildings. There, on the same bench every morning for who knows how many years, sat an elderly man, maybe 75, maybe older, quietly feeding birds. What stopped Daniel in his tracks wasn't the birds. It was the man's face. He was smiling. Not a big, forced smile. A soft, peaceful, deeply content smile, as though the simple act of being alive right here, right now, was more than enough. Daniel stood watching for a long moment, feeling something strange rising in his chest, a mixture of envy and curiosity. Eventually, he walked over. The old man looked up and offered the warmest, most welcoming nod Daniel had seen in years. "Mind if I sit?" Daniel asked quietly. The old man gestured to the empty space beside him. Of course, please. They sat in silence for a while, just watching the birds peck at the seeds. Finally, Daniel spoke, almost like the words were pulled out of him. Can I ask you something? The old man turned toward him, eyes kind and bright. You look happy, genuinely happy, how? The old man gave a small, knowing chuckle. You think happiness is something you find, don't you? Daniel frowned. Isn't it? No, young man, the old man said gently but firmly. Happiness isn't something you find. Happiness is something you practice, every single day. Daniel felt those words land, somewhere very deep inside him. The old man continued. Tell me, what was the very first thought you had when you woke up this morning? Daniel didn't even have to think. I thought, another day I have to get through. Same as yesterday. Same as the day before that. The old man nodded slowly, like he had heard that answer 1,000 times. My friend, he said, you have been training your mind. Every morning for years, you have practiced waking up negative. And now, you are very, very good at it. The truth hit Daniel like ice water poured over his head. He had never thought of it that way. Training. But it was true. He had turned negativity into a skill. A reflex. A default. Quietly, almost afraid to hope, he asked, is there a way to untrain it? The old man's eyes sparkled. There is. And it starts with 5 minutes. He reached into the pocket of his worn coat and pulled out a small, well-used notebook, pages thick with handwriting. For the last 20 years, he said, before I look at my phone, before I think about my problems, before I do anything else, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Daniel stared at the notebook. That's it, he asked, just writing things down. The old man smiled and picked up 2 small stones from the ground, one dark and rough, one pale and smooth. Imagine your mind is a garden, he said. Every single morning you plant seeds. If you plant worry, fear, complaint. He held up the dark stone. That is what grows all day. He held up the light stone. But if you plant gratitude, appreciation, awareness of what is already good, that grows instead. He placed both stones in Daniel's open hands. Right now, my friend, your garden is full of dark stones. You've planted them for years. But here is the miracle. You can change what you plant, starting tomorrow. The old man opened his notebook and showed Daniel the entry from that very morning. The soft warmth of sunlight on my face when I first opened my eyes. The sound of birds outside my window welcoming the day. The smell of fresh coffee already brewing in my kitchen. Small things, Daniel asked. The smallest things, the old man answered. Because the small things are the life you are actually living. The big things, success, money, the future, those are just ideas. But these, he tapped the page, these are real, these are now. Daniel looked down at the 2 stones resting in his palms, one heavy and dark, one light and smooth. For the first time in a very long time, something inside him flickered. Not joy yet. Not hope exactly. Curiosity. The old man reached into his bag and pulled out a brand new, blank notebook. He held it out to Daniel. 30 days, he said simply. 3 things every morning. Specific, real. Before your feet touch the floor. Before your phone. Before anything else. Daniel took the notebook. It felt surprisingly heavy with possibility. Can you do that? The old man asked. Daniel looked at the clean white pages, then back at the old man's peaceful face. I'll try, he said. The old man smiled, the same quiet, certain smile Daniel had first noticed from across the park. Good, he said. Then tomorrow morning. Your first practice begins. Daniel walked home from the park that morning carrying the small blank notebook like it was made of glass. He didn't feel transformed. He didn't feel hopeful yet. But he felt something. a tiny crack in the wall of dread he'd built around himself. That night he placed the notebook and a pen on the nightstand, right where his phone usually sat. He even plugged his phone in across the room, out of arm's reach. A small act of defiance against his old habits. The next morning the alarm went off at 6:00 a.m. His hand instinctively reached for the phone. He caught himself, paused, then turned over, grabbed the notebook instead. He sat up against the headboard, still half asleep, heart beating a little faster than usual. The page stared back at him, blank, expectant, almost accusing. 3 things, specific, real, before anything else. His mind was completely empty at first. Then slowly, reluctantly, he wrote, "I woke up today. The bed was warm and comfortable. Sarah is still here beside me, breathing softly. It felt awkward, forced, almost stupid." But he closed the notebook, set it down, and only then let his feet touch the floor. Day 2 was almost the same. Day 3 too. His entries stayed simple, almost mechanical. The sound of birds outside. Hot water in the shower actually felt good today. No alarm traffic jam on the way to work yesterday. He didn't feel any different. The heaviness still arrived most mornings. The old reflex still whispered, another day to survive. But he kept going. Because the old man had said, "The first few days will feel fake. Your mind will fight you. That's normal. Keep planting." Day 5, something tiny shifted. He wrote, "The way Sarah laughed at my dumb joke last night. My coffee was the perfect temperature this morning. I noticed the sky was actually blue on my commute yesterday, not just gray." He stared at the words, longer than usual. They weren't profound, but they were honest. Day 12, the real change began without him noticing it at first. He was stuck in a long, pointless meeting at work. Everyone was tense. His usual reaction would have been silent resentment. Instead, he caught himself staring at the way sunlight poured through the blinds, painting golden stripes across the conference table. For a split second he thought, "That's beautiful." Then immediately, "I'll write that tomorrow." He froze. He had just, without trying, looked for something good. In the middle of frustration. Automatically. That night he wrote, "Sunlight making patterns on the meeting room wall today. My colleague quietly left an extra coffee on my desk. The smell of rain starting outside the window." Day 17, the entries grew richer, more alive. Rain tapping on the window this morning, like the world was being washed clean. The new green leaves on the trees outside the apartment. Spring is really coming. Sarah's hand, reaching for mine under the blanket before we got up. Sarah noticed too. One evening she said softly, "You seem lighter lately, like you're actually here when we talk." Daniel showed her the notebook. She read a few pages in silence. When she looked up, her eyes were shining. "Daniel," she whispered, "you're coming back." Day 25. For the first time in years, Daniel woke up before his alarm. Not because he had to. Because a small, quiet part of him wanted to. He was actually looking forward to writing his 3 things. That morning he wrote, "I woke up excited for the day. I can't remember the last time that happened. Sarah sleeping peacefully next to me, her hair across the pillow like always. The fact that I'm finally learning I have some control over my own mind." He sat there in the half-light, notebook in his lap, feeling something warm spread through his chest. Not fireworks. Not euphoria. Just presence. The simple awareness that right now, in this moment, life was not something to endure. It was something to notice. He still had bad mornings. Some days the old darkness rushed in strong. But now he had a practice, a small, stubborn ritual that reminded him. You get to choose what seeds you plant first. Day 30 was coming. And Daniel knew exactly where he would go. Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this. On the morning of day 30, Daniel woke before the alarm again. This time it wasn't surprise. It was habit. A good one. He sat up slowly, reached for the notebook that now lived permanently on the nightstand, and opened it to the final page of the 30-day streak. He wrote, "I woke up excited to see the old man again. The quiet of the city before it wakes, still my favorite sound. The realization that I no longer dread mornings. I look forward to them." He closed the notebook, stood, dressed quietly so as not to wake Sarah, and headed back to the small park. The old man was already there, as always, scattering seeds for the birds. When he saw Daniel approaching with the filled notebook in hand, his eyes lit with quiet pride. Daniel sat beside him. Neither spoke for a long minute. Just the soft cooing of pigeons and the first rays of sun warming their faces. Finally, Daniel held out the notebook. "I did it, 30 days, every single morning." The old man took it gently, opened it, and read the last entry. Then he looked up, smiling that same peaceful smile that had first drawn Daniel in. "And," the old man asked softly, "what changed?" Daniel exhaled, searching for the right words. "Everything and almost nothing. The job is the same. The bills are the same. Traffic still exists. Meetings are still long. But I am different. I see differently. I feel differently. The heaviness still comes sometimes. Bad days still happen, but it doesn't own me anymore. It doesn't get the first word in the morning. Gratitude does." The old man nodded slowly. "That's the miracle, my friend. Life didn't get easier. You got stronger at paying attention to what matters." He handed the notebook back. Daniel looked at the worn cover, now carrying 30 days of small, real moments. "What do I do now?" Daniel asked. The old man's answer was simple and certain. "Keep going. Forever. This isn't a 30-day challenge. This is how you live now. Some mornings, you'll have to search harder for your 3 things. Some mornings, they'll come so easily you'll laugh at how blind you used to be. But they're always there. Always." He placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder, firm, warm, grandfatherly. "You were never broken. You were just trained in the wrong direction. Now you've trained yourself in the right one. Keep planting light stones. Your garden is already blooming." Daniel felt his throat tighten. For the first time in years, the emotion wasn't dread or anger. It was gratitude, so deep it almost hurt. "Thank you," he whispered. The old man shook his head. "No. Thank you for choosing to chain. That choice is yours alone. And it begins again tomorrow morning." They sat in silence a while longer, watching the city slowly wake around them. Birds fluttered. A distant siren sounded. The sun climbed higher. Eventually, Daniel stood to leave. Before he walked away, he turned back. "Will I see you here again?" The old man smiled. "Every morning I'm here. And if you keep coming, so will you." Daniel nodded, tucked the notebook under his arm, and walked home through streets now filled with people rushing to their days. But Daniel wasn't rushing. He was walking. Present. Noticing the way light hit the buildings, the smell of fresh bread from a corner bakery, the sound of children laughing somewhere nearby. 6 months later, the notebook was thick with entries. It wasn't a chore anymore. It was as natural as breathing. His relationship with Sarah had deepened. Conversations were real again. Laughter came easily. Work was still work, but he brought a different energy to it. He still had hard days. We all do. But the darkness no longer had the home field advantage. And every few weeks, when the morning felt especially quiet, Daniel still walked to the park at dawn. Sometimes the old man was there. Sometimes he was. But the bench was always waiting. And Daniel would sit anyway. Open the notebook. Write 3 things. And remember, you cannot control what the world throws at you. But you can control where you place your attention. And where you place your attention determines the life you actually live. So tonight, before you sleep, put a notebook by your bed. Not your phone. A notebook. Tomorrow morning, before your feet touch the floor, before notifications steal your first moments, write 3 specific, real things you're grateful for. Do it for 30 days. Then do it for 30 more. Then never stop. Because your 5 minutes of gratitude won't just change your mornings. They'll change you. And a changed you changes everything. Wake up grateful. Plant light stones. Watch your garden bloom. Your new life begins the moment you decide it does. Subscribe now. Make sure to share for more stories like this.